Spain's economy has been under a three-pronged attack since 2008. The housing crash, a recession, and now the global economic crisis. The subsequent job losses and uncertainty have created the perfect conditions for fascists to spread their toxic ideas and messages. They are blaming the immigrants, especially Muslims, for taking away jobs from the Spaniards. Osman Hussein reports from Catalonia.
This flag-waving crowd doesn't display the typical skinheads normally associated with extreme far-right groups, but heavy police presence belies the fun family atmosphere it's trying to create. Just a few streets away, a very vocal crowd develops, objecting to its hate messages.
And what they've done is they've had a facelift, they put on a suit and they say they're Democrats, but in reality they actually still believe the same as the Nazis and the fascists believed in the 1930s. In fact, this mask of democracy is only a mask, and behind that mask is the face of Hitler, Mussolini and Franco.
Plataforma per Catalunya is riding a wave of anti-immigration sentiment, particularly targeting Muslims for the country's problems. In local elections held in May, the party made gains in the northeastern region, Catalonia. 67 councillors were elected. The previous figure was 17. From 1939 to 1975, Spain was ruled by an oppressive fascist regime led by General Franco. This is a dark period in Spain's history. Even former Francoists distanced themselves from those brutal years of terror and killings. But given this living memory of fascism, it seems surprising that extreme far-right views would gain electoral success. But this is precisely what's happened here in Catalonia.
Nowadays, fascists usually don't admit to being fascists. What they say is they're Democrats, they want to protect local people against foreigners, against immigrants, against Muslims. And they also say, look, there's not enough houses, it's the blame of the immigrants. There's not enough welfare benefits, it's the blame of the immigrants. And in a time of crisis, it's quite easy for people to believe that. On one hand, the problem isn't the immigrants. If there's a crisis, well, it's the problem of the crisis is the people who caused the crisis, not the immigrants. And secondly, that the people who are using these xenophobic and racist arguments are in fact fascists. Many of the far-right parties across Europe that say they're Democrats, say they want to defend Western culture against Islam and so on. In fact, some of them are direct descendants of the groups that were the Nazis and the fascists in the 1930s.
There are 1 million Muslims in a country of 46 million. I'm in Villanova, a town which has a big Moroccan Muslim community. It was targeted by fascist parties, attacking Muslims for threatening Spain's identity and culture. But locals united and decoded their hidden hate messages and publicised their true motives. Their efforts managed to halve the far-right vote in the town. A fiesta was held in the town square. Inspirational political songs of unity and hope took centre stage. In a few weeks later, an unprecedented march of hundreds filled the local streets. And eventually, the racist vote was cut. However, soon after the fiesta, one of the organisers was targeted. Mercedes Baca was visited at her home by 3 hooded men who threatened to harm her if she didn't return to Bolivia, her country of origin. But Mercedes reported the incident to the police and began a huge media campaign to fight racism in her town. Once again, shedding the light on the far-right's tactics.
They knew where I lived and about the work that I do to help new immigrants settle in Spain. Can you imagine 3 big men threatening a lone woman at her home? This just shows what kind of things these people are capable of doing. The public must be aware of how they operate. It's been very tough for me.
As groups challenge false messages and hate speeches, they're also tussling with how the far-right agenda is gaining more and more prominence in mainstream politics. Democratic parties are choosing to debate issues such as banning the niqab and racist scapegoating, so they don't lose ground to their opponents and lose possible votes. In effect, it's normalising deeply racist and Islamophobic discourse. And with the general election a month away, how much a threat does the far-right pose? Anti-fascist activist David Cavallo explains.
There is a risk that there's a fascist MP elected for Barcelona. The problem would be not that they're about to take power, but they actually encourage other politicians from the democratic parties to actually use the same racist discourse. The same as Sarkozy has become more and more racist to try and not lose ground to Le Pen. And so to avoid that, we have to stop the fascists and to remove that temptation.
While ordinary members of the public want to debate on immigration and the economy, what they're sure about is that they don't have an appetite for fascism. The memories of the Franco era ring clearly in many heads, and these anti-fascist confrontations and the efforts of the town of Villanova and Mercedes Vac all help in lifting the thin veil of lies. Usma Hussein, Press TV, Barcelona.